Jasmine,
Hi.
how are you? You well?
All right. I'm well.
Good.
I'm well.
You look well.
Thank you.
You've got a brand new book out, seasonal offering.
A seasonal offering.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to get into it. But I want to speak a little bit about you 1st who you are. StoryMix. The last, 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
The graft, the toil, the efforts that you've gone to bring reading and underrepresented voices and marginalized stories and authors to market quite a complex thing. I feel a lot of your work has gone unheralded. We've done what we can to support, but I think that people need to know in your own words just what that journey looked like. So talk about StoryMix for a second and just what that baby means to you. And for those who are wondering what that is, trying to Google quickly.
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, actually, you sort of say unheralded, but there's kind of a reason for that, because for most of StoryMix's journey, the whole point is that we're in the shadows. You know, we sort of do sit back because we're something called a book packager. I don't like that phrase because it sounds like you're making baked beans, right? So I call ourselves a fiction studio. But what that means is me and my small team will sit around a table, we'll brainstorm ideas, we'll work out who our characters are, the world, the plots. We sort of borrowed models from film and TV. So that's how they, something like Bridgerton, they'll sit around a table and work out what the story is. We do that, but for books, right? And our specific focus is on centering Black and brown kids in those stories. And we only have one rule, is that we're a trauma-free zone. So we can go any age range, we can go any genre. We've done horrors, thrillers, romance, fun adventures, stories about snot and bogies. We do all of it, but it's a trauma-free zone. So that's one of our focuses, about who gets to be the hero of the story. And that's because when I started the company, 2018, 2019, only 1% of kids' books featured a protagonist of colour, and 37% of school children are from a Black or minority ethnic background. So we got 1% protagonist of kids' books, 37% school children. That went up. We'll get into it, I'm sure. After the murder of George Floyd, all of a sudden everyone was in my inbox. That went up. Last year it went down again. So we're at about 7% currently.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And then our other focus is bringing new talent through the door. So illustrators, authors, and we'll work with them. So we'll give them the storyline, which is the roadmap. We'll work with them editorially. I'll go out and pitch to Penguin, HarperCollins, all of those folk. They buy the book. So it's like we're an Uber author, right? So they buy the license to that book. They'll publish it. And hopefully then what happens for that writer and illustrator, they've got that relationship with the publisher. They've understood a bit about the industry. They've built their network. They go on and write their own books, launch their own books, and off they go. So it's like a double win. We get the books done, but we're also launching talent. So I kind of talk about us as an incubator of Black talent, really.
You mentioned the growth period to George Floyd and then post George Floyd. They sound like 3 distinct periods of experience from StoryMix's perspective. Speak on them.
Right. So when I started the business because I was standing in a bookshop he was 5 at that point, he's 13 now. And I was looking at the bookshelves and there was not a single book that featured a child that looked like my son. And I think there were quite a few people at that time who felt like that. But the real kicker for me is that I'd worked in publishing at that point for 15 years.
Okay.
Right. So, and then some of those books on the shelf I'd edited. Some of those books I'd ghostwritten. Okay. So to look at that shelf and not see my son, I couldn't say as an outsider looking in like, oh, that's terrible, that's awful. Like I've been part of the problem. And I know how it happened. So often, too often, only Black woman in the room, the only person of colour in the room. And like somewhere like Penguin, where I had my first job in publishing, get off the tube, feels very multicultural. You walk into the offices, not so much, right? So I understand that I was trying to survive at points, keep my head down, keep progressing. But then those chickens, I don't know if that's the same, those chickens came home to roost, right? Because I'm looking at the shelf and I can't see my son in there. So it was at that point, I was like, okay, I understand how this industry works. And it's a funny old industry. I understand how it works. I'm going to take all of my knowledge that I have as an author, as an editor, as a book packager. I'm going to change that shelf as quickly as possible. So I could have written books as an author, maybe 1 book a year because I'm slow. or I start this fiction studio and it's multiple series with multiple books in that series, we're going to change the bookshelf. So that's where it started. And I was doing screenwriting as my kind of seed money. So I wrote on shows like JoJo and Gran Gran, PJ Masks, and that money I put directly into StoryMix to try and find the talent. I always pay writers to sample our projects, our audition pieces. And that was the first phase. And then I was getting ready to go to this big book fair in Bologna, where you go and pitch all your projects. And that was in March 2020. And you know what happened? So I've got all of these projects, I spent all of this money, I've done, I'm ready to go to launch this slate of brand new ideas. And then Bologna doesn't happen.
And then the world just changed.
The world just changed. So I'm at home, I'm homeschooling, I'm still doing a bit of screenwriting. That's the money that I'm bringing into our household. That, you know, I always say my husband was my angel investor because he's always really backed what I've done. I wasn't really bringing in any money. Then we had the murder of George Floyd. And what I always say, and this is pretty horrific thought, but the only reason my business exists now is two things happened. We had a global pandemic, and whilst we're having that global pandemic and people are all navel gazing and thinking about the purpose of life, what it means to be human, right? We see the murder of George Floyd on a news cycle where there was nothing else apart from the pandemic. So there's two stories that existed, and then everyone's all up in their feelings, having an epiphany, right? Those two things needed to happen because black men, black women had been murdered before. So what was different was that we were all cooped up at home, really just reflecting on what it means to be human, right? That needed to happen for my business to even exist today, because, and we'll get into it, but it's really tough at the moment. But what we have is this really solid foundation because I sold a lot of books. So all of a sudden my phone is blowing up. All of a sudden editors from all the big publishing houses are in my inbox saying, Jasmine, we didn't get to meet in Bologna. Tell us about what projects you have. And I was like, well, I've actually got 5 projects I've been working on for the last 18 months or so. Brilliant authors and illustrators that I'm working with. They're like, tell me more. And I sell all of those projects. And I joke and I say that in 2021, I could have sneezed on a handkerchief and I could have sold it. Like, it was that deep. Like this one, I love this book, right? It's called Future Hero. This is maybe the 4th project that we sold. It was inspired by the fact that black boys were being excluded from school because of their haircuts, right? So Jarrell here gets a symbol cut into his hair, and that's his passport through the barbershop mirror. Anyway, to an Afrofuturistic world where he's the hero they've been waiting for. It's for readers 7+. This was a 9-way auction. This was a 9-way auction and a preempt in America.
Wow.
Right? I mean, now if I was launching this book, so it was successes like that that mean we're still here now, but look what had to take place for that to even exist, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's interesting because at least you were present in the space to take advantage of the energy shift, right?
If I'd started then, if I'd been like, right, oh, there's this opportunity, listen, zeitgeist, it's gone. The books take a really long time, but it was all there.
You wouldn't have had 5 ready.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have had a 9-way auction.
No.
What's the priority now? You can see there's a shift. You can feel there's a shift in energy and appetite. So what for you is the focus?
Right now it's to get through, if it is a moment, however long this moment is, like, we're still going to make these books. The routes to market might have to be different. And I've actually, like, we're not selling the projects the way we used to. You know, I will present projects and it's like, oh, this is going to struggle to find its market, Jasmine. We're just a bit...
Similar energy to pre...
Yeah. It's flipping the model, changing the model. I always said, because I've worked in publishing for 20 years, I always said I never wanted to be a publisher. I don't want to have to be thinking about the cost of paper, how I distribute books. Like, I just want to work on the creative. I want to bring through talent. That's all. But we're having to move into that space of becoming a publisher now, because we can't sell the license to our ideas to publishers anymore. Like, they're just much more reticent. And what I will say is those people in the publishing houses, they're all Guardian reading, lefty publishing folk, but their decision making does not reflect that.
Doesn't mirror. Are they under the same pressures as the rest of the industry to make the metrics work? Trying to find reasoning for this regression.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And I think what happened in that black square summer, which I call it, which probably lasted about 18 months, is there was this like land grab for black talent.
I like the way you did that. I'm actually going to call it that now forever. Forever, it's the black square summer. Because I know exactly what you mean.
Anyway, there was this land grab, and then a few things happened. So some books they overpaid. So that author never had a chance. They were never going to be able to make sense on paper. And that's before we get into all of the challenges that specifically black authors are up against. Key one being, the way most books make their money is by the same book being sold in many territories. So it sells in the UK, and it sells in the US, and it sells in Italy, and it sells in Croatia, it sells in Japan. And then so that same book is being sold in many, many different ways. And the author gets a share of that money, and the primary publisher gets a share of that money. The truth is, black books really struggle to sell in those other territories. US, before Trump, it was all good. Yeah, so again, Future Hero, that book I was talking about before, sold over 250,000 copies of book one, mainly through Target, right?
Wow.
And then Trump came along, and we've just seen it go like that. But apart from the US, if you look at how books by black authors in kids fiction, I don't know about adult fiction, kids fiction is my passion, maybe sell in one territory. Most books sell in no territory. So publisher has maybe paid too much for the book over here. They're not making the money back by selling all of these different territories, okay? Then all of a sudden, when it comes to book 3 and 4, because you normally get a book contract on 2 books at a go, they're like, wait, this book didn't earn out. And then the narrative becomes, black books don't sell. Black books don't sell. And what we actually need to say is, okay, so some parts of the world are still hella racist and aren't ready for books that have black and brown protagonists. Publishers, what's your plan? What structures are you going to put in place? Because that's not on the author. We didn't start the fire, yeah? That's not on us. So, but there's none of that thinking. They just look at the numbers and go, that didn't work. Yeah, and then there's the whole thing about marketing spend. There's the whole thing about.
But that's part of the model, right?
Yeah.
It would be part, because they would know the marketing spend for a book that's sold a certain amount of metrics, done so well in certain territories, because they would be able to say, okay, that's a little bit like what X did before or White did before. So now we can kind of maybe tweak some of the marketing to make up those numbers. Yeah. But we're
even the way they frame the pitching, like. I've seen it. People tripping up over themselves, like they don't want to say something wrong, and yeah.
So let's get into your seasonal offering, because we're going to come back to this discussion, but I want some of that vim to kind of work its way into the conversation on the Other Father Christmas. Why are you bringing that to market?
So again, my kids are older now, but when they were younger, one of the things that really struck me was just how white Christmas was. It's truly a white Christmas. So we really wanted to do like the elf on the shelf thing, the naughty elf and all of that, to send off for like a black elf. It didn't come in time. So then we've still got, Elvis is called, he's still in our lives. And then for my daughter who's a bit younger, I managed to find a black elf. So, and it's always kind of bugged me, because I don't know about your Christmases, right? But when I look at that table of food on Christmas Day, it encapsulates what it means to be Black British, right? So whether it's rice and peas on the table, or jollof on the table, and you got turkey, and you got you got sorrel, you got all of the things, and that's what it means to be Black British there on the table. Now that isn't reflected in kids' books. That sense of Christmas being really inclusive. Like some people might feel like Christmas has become too secular. But everyone, like if you talk to people from all kinds of heritages, on Christmas Day, they might have the turkey and all of those other things. Anyway, so I felt like there wasn't an offering that did that. And it felt like a real gap in the market. And I was following companies like March Muses. I saw them on Dragon's Den doing amazing work. And I'm like, this is 100%, I'm right. Like, this is a niche. This is an opportunity. So we developed this project in-house. The idea is that the real Santa Claus is retiring. He's looking for his replacement. Okay, so it's like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Willy Wonka, but Willy Wonka Santa in this case. And so there's a big competition. And Mikey enters his granddad, Curtis Merriman, into the competition. Now, Curtis, for many years, has been the other Father Christmas at the local community centre, has been acting as Santa Claus with his wife, Claudette. Claudette has sadly passed away, and Gramps is just not into Christmas anymore. He's missing a dad, right? So Mikey enters him into his competition to try and cheer him up, and they go on this big epic adventure, and there's gingerbread escape rooms, and there's wild reindeer racing. But the real story is about Mikey and his Gramps finding their way back to each other. Mikey understanding that Gramps will be forever changed. He's lost the love of his life. And Gramps understanding he can still love Christmas even with Claudette gone. So, pitch this idea to publishers. I'm sure you can guess what the reaction was. I always joke as well and say, okay, so the line, because in case we weren't sure about the line is Black Santa. They were not prepared to cross that line, like proper
inconceivable.
Yeah. It's just like
what?
And I just
because Santa's not real, but a Black Santa, that's definitely not real.
No, we can't. Sorry.
Yeah.
No.
You're joking.
Yes.
It's worse than James Bond.
Yeah.
What next?
Yeah. Just can't be dealing with it. So, and it's interesting. Every single time, like, I start a business or do a thing, I wish it came from a place of joy, but normally comes from anger. So I was angry when I remember being so angry being in that bookshop with my son and not seeing him on the shelf. Like, right, I'm going to start StoryMix. And in that moment, it was many small moments as I got all the rejections and they were all saying the same thing, struggle to find this market, just not sure about the idea of Santa and it being a job. That just didn't sit with me. And it's like something didn't sit with you. Wasn't that, babes? I'm going to get myself in so much trouble. It's all right. Anyway, so I was like, fine. I'll just start a publishing company. Look what you made me do. And here I am. Can I share the book?
Of course, go for it.
Here it is. This is the hardback edition of The Other Father Christmas.
I know that there was a whole process in funding the whole.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Yeah. So one of the other things that I felt really passionately about is Christmas is a time of gifting, right? And so if, let's say, against the odds, you find a Black character on a Christmas book on the table at Waterstones or whatever, you won't ever see it in hardback, okay? So it was really important to me that we had a really luxe product. But obviously that costs money. So we were going to do a paperback edition. We were always going to do that. But then I decided, right, if I try crowdfunding, doing a Kickstarter, maybe we'll raise enough to do a really lovely hardback edition. And we were successful in that. Kickstarter chose it as one of their projects that they love, which is a big deal.
That's a big deal, you know?
Yeah,
that's
for
a big
our
deal.
first one.
That's a big deal. Well done.
Yeah, and I just think, you were talking about what is the priority, like thinking about different business models. Like, yes, I've worked in publishing for 20 years, but I can't do it the way they do it. Like, it's not possible for me to win that game. So I've got to play it a different way. So even though I am experienced in some ways in being a publisher, I'm learning so much in terms of trying to find a way to make this game work for an entrepreneur like me, like an author or publisher like me,
Any support along the way outside of the channels that you would have deemed, the support would have come from? Any unconventional support come your way?
Well,
I'm asking because I know that there's a big part of this that you've done yourself with no support.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if anybody did reach out from unsuspected channels and say, you know what, let's get behind what you're doing.
I feel like what I didn't manage to quite crack. So with the Kickstarter, I almost know every single person who funded it.
Right.
So like my friends and family and some people in the industry turned up, I didn't manage to break out of that. I feel like I don't know how people, when it comes to influencers and celebrities, how they manage to slip into. I tried slipping into some people's DMs, it didn't work. People make it sound really easy. Like I just slipped into this person's DM, and then
it's a great narrative.
Yeah. But it doesn't. So that didn't. So that didn't happen. So has there been unexpected support? No, not yet.
Still to come. Then.
Still to come.
Yeah, still to come.
You were very lovely when we spoke, and I told you about what I was doing. You were immediately like.
I mean, you're a bit special. If the world don't know that, then that's their business.
Yeah.
In terms of just what will constitute success with this, getting to market is one thing, right?
Yes.
And you've outlined how difficult that was. But in terms of for you really touching on what would constitute success for this particular project, I mean, short of 1 million copies flying off the shelf, and Waterstone selling out, like genuinely selling out.
Yeah.
Not just Waterstones as well, everybody else. Everybody else. But apart from that, that's the obvious. What would constitute success for you?
So I've actually got a mood board of what this looks like. So I can answer this question very easily. So I want this book to be a classic of the future. I want it in 20 years' time. It's got a timeless quality to it. It's gorgeous writing, brilliant illustrations. One of the reasons we did it as a hardback, because I feel like hardbacks travel better than paperbacks, so people can pass it down the line, right? So I'm looking for legacy here. And so that also means I want there to be the TV series or the film, right? Lenny Henry, I think you'd be great in this. Call me. I want there to be like immersive pop-up events that run every year, right? I want people, how we have like things like, the snowman, and it's on every Christmas and it's part of the ritual of Christmas. That's what I want for the Other Father Christmas. So that's what success is like. And there's definitely been some parts on the journey. We're in November now. I'm not in all of the bookstores that I'd like to be in, right? I haven't achieved everything I wanted to achieve in this first year, but then I have to keep on reminding myself, I'm still going to be talking about this book in 20 years. Fully expect to still, I hope my children will want to carry on that legacy. I want there to be like a soundtrack for this. I want a Christmas song. Like I'm going to do all of it because actually as the publisher, I'm not asking permission from any of the big publishers. Like this is in my control. And that's nice. Really often in this industry, I haven't always felt like I've had much power, but with this, I do.
In terms of protecting your own sanity and just ensuring that you're in this space and with all the energy that you need to be creative, right, and still kind of deliver something innovative, authentic, just all the things you've been true to. How long do you see yourself in the space if things don't change? And do you think you can bring about that kind of revolution required? Or is there anybody else out there that you see capable that you might want to partner up with, build an army?
I really want to say yes to that second part, but there's been quite a few companies that this year have gone to the wall. So brilliant Nights of Publishers was run by Amy Filoni, young black woman. I once got mistaken for her and I was so pleased because she is gorgeous and significantly younger. But also that tells you a lot. There's only 2 black women in publishing. So, but Nights of no longer exist. And they're doing amazing work. The Good Agency, which was a literary agency set up to bring in underrepresented voices, they went this year. Tiny Owl, the publisher, which is all about underrepresented voices, they've gone this year. So the revolution, if there was one, I think the financial climate and then just also the macro political climate has made that really impossible. So in terms of protecting my peace and my business, I've had to make really hard decisions in the last 3 months or so and just really slim down the number of projects that we're working on, even in terms of team members, like they're not working as many hours as they were, because what I can't allow to happen is just to run out of money. Like cash is queen, right? So because I've seen what's happened to these other businesses, I sort of made some harder decisions much earlier so that we can try and get through this. So, and I think it's just reminding myself, it's not your fault. that the world is the way it is right now, but it is on you to keep this thing going because there's still so much to do. And so it might mean not developing as many brand new projects, but we've got over 20 different series that we are the IP holders for, right? Yeah. Each one of those could be a TV show, could have, I also talk about stretchy IP, so you could take them younger or older. They could have spin-offs. They could have all kinds. There could be a game. I've got to stay in the game myself so I can make that happen. So it's just been slimming down the output.
Survival story, right?
Yeah, right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. Did we say how much copies that we're looking to sell for Father Christmas? Did we say?
Right. So of the hardbacks, this hardback.
Yeah.
We printed 1,000 copies.
Okay.
I would love to sell out this Christmas.
Okay.
But one thing we do know is there's always another Christmas, so it's fine. Don't sell out, we'll sell out next Christmas. Should be able to sell 1,000 copies of this now, right?
I think so, especially after this interview.
Yeah.
Especially after this interview.
And of the paperback, we printed 5,000 of the paperback. So I feel like it's doable. It would help if the books were in all of the bookshops. It'd be lovely if they were in supermarkets.
Even better, right?
Not even right. But I really feel like one of the things that publishing struggles with is being in the places where readers actually are. Like they always focus on one particular type of reader who buys their book from one place. So working with a great company, actually, Kelly, she's the founder of Woke Babies, and then there's also Melanin Dreams, the bookshop. She's putting on this party. There's going to be a Santa's Grotto, so I think there'll be books there. Noir Kringle, she does Santa's Grotto, so there is a Black Santa there. We're selling books there. So that whole thing about partnerships, it does tend to be other Black women. I will slide into their DM and they're like, okay, what do you need? Let's go. Like that has been Afori books, like so many of them. Yeah, let's help each other. Imagine Me, we did Imagine Me books. That's a subscription box service. So yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll try and shift a few copies for you as well over at The Voice. Do you know what? I feel like we could sit here and talk about this industry for hours and hours and hours, right?
Yeah.
What positive green shoots do you see?
Well, I was at the Black British Book Festival a couple of weeks ago.
At the Barbican?
At the Barbican.
That's Europe's biggest Black book show.
Yeah.
We've got to say it, haven't we? Because it's a big deal.
Do you know, this is, you're going to laugh at me. I think the thing that struck me, the weather that day was horrific.
Yeah, it was.
It was like torrential rain, and it was still packed.
Yeah.
That's not green shoots.
You're absolutely right, You're absolutely right. Yeah. And so many people have asked me about that event.
Yeah.
Good luck to all those involved in that.
Actually.
Yeah. So you're right, that is a green shoot.
I think there's green shoots. I want more, I always want this. I want more focus on kids' books. It annoys me, like there was data that came out quite recently talking about literacy. So I've just become a trustee at the National Literacy Trust,
Okay,
actually.
well, congrats.
Thank you. And one of the bits of data that came out recently was about literacy, specifically in the Black Caribbean demographic. I want to dig into that more. So I'm not just going to reel off stats for you because I haven't interrogated the data.
Right, okay.
But out of many of the different groups, it seems like we're not hitting some of those milestones that we should be. And I'm like, when I think about us as a culture and as a group, like in the way we tell stories, be it through music or whatever, like language, we're brilliant with language. Mm-hmm. We're wordsmiths. So what's going on?
Where's the disconnect?
What's going on there? Yeah. So there's things like that. But so I just want much more of a focus on kids' books and what that can unlock, and what I want parents to know is ones that are really ambitious for their kids, and they spend all this money on tutoring, all of these things, like books and reading for joy, right? Has more of an impact of where your kids go to school, how many kids are in the class, whether or not the parent went to university or not, like all of these things. Like actually a kid that just reads for fun because they like it has the biggest impact. And I want our community to know that, right? So don't just face your books for learning, but for joy. And that is actually going to have a massive, because we are disadvantaged in this society. So whatever we can do
To
to give our
cultivate
kids
some joy.
and give our kids a leg up feels like an imperative, you know?
I agree. Where can people find out more about you, Jazz?
You can check out our website, which is storymix.co.uk, or there's StoryMix Books, which is our publishing arm.com. I've also have books that I've written as Jasmine author, so if you just Google Jasmine Richards, you'll find all of our stuff. And on social, we're at StoryMix Studio.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, John.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.